Hello, my name is Maya, and I got my bachelor's degree at 19. So I'm sure from clicking on this video, the most interesting thing is going to be how. So I'm going to talk about that first. I started in pre-K, like every other kid, but my school was dual language, so half my classes are in English and half are in Spanish. And then we got a partner, so I was English as my first language, and then they took a little boy, I think his name was Joshua. I don't remember. I think his name was Joshua. And his first language was Spanish. So they would put us together, and then we would go to each of our classes together. I had four: English, writing, math, and Spanish. Not Spanish, science. So my science and math were in Spanish, and then my English and writing were in English. And then me and him would go to those classes together. And the idea was that whenever we graduated the fifth grade, we could speak English and Spanish with equal fluency. So I was also in GT. Any GT students out there, you get pulled out of class, I think, once a week, and you go do a little activity with your little group of like 8 kids, and then you go back to class. It's like a 30-minute thing. Well, one day, it was the summer of second grade, my mom was like, honey, you're gonna go to a different school. I remember I went, they had me tested to see if I could get into the school, and it's a gifted and talented academy thing. I went there from 3rd grade to 8th grade, and I think that really started the process of like expediting my educational journey, because in 5th grade they had us test to do algebra 1 in the 6th grade, and I failed that test the first time, and then I retook it and passed, and then that they just continued from there. So like 7th grade was geometry, and then 8th grade was algebra 2. So whenever I was entering high school, my 9th grade, I was doing pre-calculus. So they also had us doing biology in 8th grade. So they had us doing, and then some business elective classes. So they had us doing all of these high school classes in middle school. So by the time I did end up getting to high school, I had a lot of extra time. So what I did after I left that school, went to high school, my parents, thank you, put me in a dual enrollment school. So like dual credit is like more of this specific class. So like this dual credit biology class, if you pass this with a certain score, you're going to get a high school and college credit for this. Dual enrollment is that, except for your whole like diploma. So I would get on a bus in the morning, go to a community college, and then I would also do high school classes whenever I got back in like the middle of the day. And then whenever I graduated, I got my associate's degree and my diploma. Now, because I was doing all of these high school classes in middle school, I was allowed to, I guess, like move up. So like I said before, I wasn't doing pre-calculus because I was doing the college algebra 1, if that makes sense, like that basic college math. So it's on the level of pre-calculus, I believe, because I did get my pre-calculus credit for that class, and then I took AP calculus the next year because there wasn't another college math class I had to take. So for the associate's degree, there was only that one. And then I was able to shave off some time there. So in the 3 years, I was able to get my high school and my associate's degree done. And it's time for me to apply to colleges. So I didn't apply to as many colleges as I probably should have. And I didn't even wait to get all of my acceptance letters before I decided. So I got 2 acceptance letters. I got one from LSU and one from the University of North Texas, which is where I ended up going. Spoiler. I didn't go to LSU, which is Louisiana State University, because they weren't going to accept my degree, and it was 8 hours away, and I was like 17, I think, when I graduated. So I was like, I really don't want to be going into being a college junior and be 8 hours away. But then they were like, we're not going to accept your degree because it's out of state and it's a community college. So it's like, I'm also not starting over. Like I did so much work to get where I am, so I'm not. So I went to University of North Texas, and I walked in as a biomedical engineering major, and before classes started at orientation, I decided to change my major because I was laying in bed and I was thinking, and I was like, I really want to teach. Like that's like a big passion of mine, and I think I'd enjoy it. So at orientation, I changed my major. I wasn't really helping the statistic, because like statistically, university students change their majors a few times. That was not the first time I changed my major, just a heads up there. I changed it to education. I did 2 semesters in bilingual education. I was gonna the idea at UNT, if you're an education major, is that when you're graduating, you're giving your teacher certification. So you can literally go from UNT to a school instead of having to go to Teachers of Tomorrow, or like some kind of alternative certification pathway. But I talked to my advisor, I remember, at the end of my first year, and she said that actually it was the beginning of my second year. Editing my here. So it actually was the end of my first year. It was the spring of 2024, not the fall of 2024. I was picking out my classes for the fall of 2024 whenever she told me how long it would take. And that's whenever I decided, that summer was whenever I built my major with my advisor via email. And really that next year, so fall of 2024 to spring of 2025 was my last year of undergrad. And she told me that I was going to have to take 2 more years on top of that year, if that makes sense. So like in order to graduate with my teacher certification, it was going to be 4 years of college. And I was like, I got my associate's degree, so I didn't have to do 4 years of college. So I'm going to change my major again. So I changed my major to astrophysics at the end of that semester. And I remember it was winter break. But I still want to be a teacher, so like, why would I punish myself by making astrophysics my major? I can't even go teach astrophysics at a high school. There's no astrophysics high schoolers out there, you know? So I changed my major again to something called integrative studies, which is like a build your own major type of thing, except I decided to get in science, so I didn't have to take a foreign language credit in college, but I already I already tested out of the college Spanish classes because they had us take an exam on orientation to see like where we were, and I had tested out of them. So I got those credits as well, but it didn't really apply towards my degree, so it doesn't really matter anyways. So I switched to integrative studies, and I chose psychology and education as my 2 areas of focus. And I was able to get a certification in Jewish studies as well, because my family is Jewish. And I really did enjoy those classes. But I had already gotten all of these requirements fulfilled from my last year as an education major, because I was like, I can take an elective, I'm going to take religious studies, because that's interesting to me. Well, that ended up applying towards my certification in Jewish studies and things like that, compounding. So I was able to get all of the requirements that I needed to graduate in a year after that. So I got my degree, my bachelor's in science, in integrative studies of psychology, education, with a certification in Jewish studies at 19 years old. In May of 2025, I walked the stage. And I didn't stop there. I'm at U Texas now. I'm getting my master's degree in educational leadership policy and planning. And that's really what brings me to the point of this video. I just want you to know who I am. So like when you see my face popping up again, yapping about education, you know why, like what background I have. Not everyone has such a fortunate time in the education system, especially in the state that it is in our country right now. And I think that me and many other people are going to walk into a lot of rooms in our life, both literally and metaphorically, that other people simply won't have the opportunity to do. So I think it's important that I use the privileges that I do have to help other people and to pursue my passion of improving education in America. So, yeah, thank you.